So it's one of the first warm days, finally. We've been waiting for this for a long time. And even during coronavirus, we're doing a little social distancing, socializing. We had drinks and pizza. So we've got our neighbors, Linda and Patricia. You guys doing okay during this quarantine time?
We're hanging in there.
Hanging in there?
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Eric and Beth.
Hi.
You guys doing okay?
Good. I'm empty, but we're healthy.
We'll get you some more wine. And you know this guy.
You know me.
And he's doing okay.
I'm doing well.
All right. Hello, everyone. It's been a few weeks since I've done an update, and I thought today would be a pretty good one because I'm actually feeling fairly well today. As you can see from my opening, we've done some gathering with some people, some social distance gathering on our deck, which has been really nice to actually connect face to face with people for a change, as opposed to Zoom meetings and things like that. But things have also been quite wild since my last update. And as the title says, I cannot believe I've actually had another ER hospital stay over a holiday, which just boggles my mind. I'm not looking forward to the next holiday because I'm afraid I'll go back in the hospital. But in any case, wanted to give you some updates on what's been happening. As you know, I started the next phase of chemo, that's eribulin, which is supposed to be a palliative care type of chemo to help me feel good. And I was feeling good right before and even after the first injection of the chemo for a few days. That's actually when we had, this deck gathering, I was feeling good. And I then started to feel bad, or not feel so great during afterwards, and had the second injection the second week, and have totally lost my appetite, had lost all my taste buds, and usually with every chemo I've had before, I've at least been able to find some foods that taste okay. With this chemo, not a single food has tasted good at all. Even water tastes bad, and it's just makes it, when you don't have an appetite, it makes it even harder to force food down when nothing tastes anywhere or in any way like you expect it to. So this chemo has not been very kind to me. Probably not as bad as others. I really don't have, or haven't had much nausea with it, and which is a good thing. Although I do have some nausea, it's very light when I have it, and I don't have many other issues with it, or haven't had many other issues with it. But I just have been feeling, or hadn't been feeling very good up until the Memorial Day weekend, which I actually was feeling very good. This was not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And I was actually feeling really good and was able to do my first walk in a very long time, and actually was able to do a mile. And I was so proud of that I was actually able to walk a mile for the first time in several months, actually. So things seemed to be doing well until the Sunday before Memorial Day. And I felt great that day. During the day, we had my mother coming over for barbecue. We were going to barbecue some burgers and just spend a Memorial Day Sunday enjoying the weather and the weekend. And right before I started or was going to start cooking dinner, I started to get a pain in my left side. And I actually had that pain earlier in the day, but it wasn't that bad. And all I had to do was sit down for a little bit and it went away. And then I felt fine again. But the pain started to come back. And so I went to go sit down to see if it would go away. And unfortunately, this time it just got worse. And it got so severe once again that I was, had tears in my eyes and literally crying out in pain. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't take a full breath. It was so bad. So I was feeling like I was unable to breathe while this was happening, and it just kept getting worse and wouldn't go away. And the really sad part for me was the fact that my mother had to witness this in this pain, which is something you don't really want. Your 86-year-old mother to witness that. But in any case, we ended up calling 911. The ambulance took me in. The ER did all its stuff that it's supposed to do, and they ended up actually admitting me. And I was in the hospital for 5 days because they couldn't figure out what was going on. They took CTs and an MRI, and all they showed was that from the previous MRI I had, or CT that I had, which was actually just a few weeks before, that the tumors, most of the tumors had grown. It was only one dose of chemo, and that's not really enough to show whether it's working or not. So that growth doesn't mean too much. However, it did show growth. It showed shrinkage on one tumor. But what they were trying to find is something on the left side that would be causing that pain. And they never found anything. There was nothing there that would show this pain or cause this pain. So, 5 days in the hospital, I'm barely able to get out of bed because every time I would get out of bed, this pain would just shoot on my left side. And it was, again, extremely painful. They tried different pain medications, of course, to see if those would work, and nothing seemed to be working to even control that pain when it would come back. So what they finally ended up on was that it might possibly be something muscular, that maybe I pulled a muscle in some way or form, and I don't know what I would have done that could have caused that. I will tell you, I did mow the lawn again. Our lawn is rather bumpy, and so maybe while mowing the lawn, I pulled a muscle. I don't know, but in any case, it put me into quite a downward spiral, because tied into the fact that I had this dose of chemo in me that was making me, no appetite, not wanting to eat, having this horrible pain, being in the hospital when nobody can visit you. It put me into quite a tailspin. When I did get home, I was still having the pain, certainly not as severe at all, but it would be there. And again, pain medication did not seem to work on it. They did give me some muscle relaxers, and I will say that they might be working. I don't know. I still have that pain today. It's very mild, but it does show up, and still not quite sure what it is that's causing that pain. But in any case, we're at least home, and we've been off the chemo now. I was supposed to get the second cycle, the first dose of the second cycle last Thursday. They postponed that for a week, so I am supposed to get it this coming Thursday. However, I am going to be talking with both my oncologist and my palliative care doctor to see if this makes sense. This is supposed to be palliative chemo. It is not supposed to make me feel bad, and it really has made me feel bad. I have not felt good up until today. Today I actually feel pretty good, and I'm hoping this trend continues. I certainly hope that this does not end up like a day like that Sunday where I started out feeling great and ended up with the severe pain, but I don't think that will happen. But in any case, at least I'm starting to feel good now that I've been off the chemo for 2 weeks. And so we will be having a discussion probably tomorrow on, do I continue with this chemo, or do I take that next step to go onto home hospice or just stay on palliative care for a while. It's not going to be an easy decision, of course. Again, as I have made mention, that if we choose the hospice route, that certainly does not mean I'm giving up or giving in to the cancer. It's a decision to feel good, to make sure that I can feel as good as I can in order to do the things that I want to do. And there are several things coming up that I want to make sure I'm feeling good for. The first is all my siblings are coming in a couple weeks, and we'll all be together since last Thanksgiving. And if you recall, last Thanksgiving was one of those holidays I ended up being in the emergency room. And so hoping to be able to redo this, hoping to get some taste back so that I can enjoy some food and wine with my siblings, and also that I'm feeling much better than I have been. So that's one of the goals. The second goal is to be able to make it to the end of August, beginning of September, as we have booked. I think I've mentioned this before, but we've booked a vacation in Wyoming, and as long as COVID doesn't come completely back and close everything down, we're very looking forward to this trip, to be able to make this trip and have a great time feeling good. So there are several things that are coming up that I really want to be able to feel good for. So the discussion that I have with my doctors is going to be certainly around that, what the benefits would be, if any, of staying on this chemo or moving in a different direction. And I'm fine, I'm not fine with either way, because I know what the chemo has done to me already, and I know that if I do go back on it this week, that by the time my siblings get here, I am not going to be feeling well again. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to talk through and see what the pros and cons are of either of these decisions. But the good news again is that I'm feeling good today, and that's an important thing. And I hope that this trend continues. So that's really just a quick update on what's been going on. Again, my family was joking around that they were all going to come on 4th of July, but they all decided they better not because it's a holiday and I'd end up in the ER anyway. So we are hopeful that that will not happen. I also wanted to take just a moment, just a quick moment to talk about the other issue that is permeating our country at this time. It's bad enough that not only are those of us that are dealing with cancer or terminal disease or whatever are having to deal with that, and then you put coronavirus on top of that, and the lockdowns and the quarantines and all that, and still, going to the shopping center is not fun. But I cannot leave this video without mentioning the situation that was caused by the death of George Floyd. And I don't mean to get political on these things, but I am firmly entrenched that this whole situation is caused. I finally see. I can finally see that this is what white privilege is, and I don't think I understood it. I'm not a racist. I've never been a racist, but I never understood what white privilege was until this incident, and I am part of that. I have said this before in some of my Facebook posts, and I truly believe it, that all of this is caused by white America and white privilege. And even as a gay man, I have never experienced anything as horrible as what Black Americans face on a daily basis, how their lives are so different than ours, and it shouldn't be. And we are the cause, and we have to accept that, and we can't be silent about it anymore. And I am not going to be silent about it anymore. It's an awful, awful thing, and we will never be a whole country, ever be a whole country, until all men of all races are created equal and treated equal in this country. And so we have to start doing things like investing in Black communities, making sure that their schools are just as good as the white schools, or integrated, which would be even better. I wish that we could just integrate all neighborhoods, that there weren't Black and white neighborhoods, but there were just neighborhoods. But until we fix this, we will never be a whole country. And I can tell you that it's my belief that it starts from the top, and our leadership today is inciting more racism, because I firmly believe our president is a racist. And I don't care if you don't agree with that. I don't care about that. I firmly believe it, and so do millions of other people. And the only way we will even begin to start any kind of change is to vote out our current president and his administration in November. And so my last goal is to be able to stay alive long enough to be able to vote on November 3rd so that I can at least have my voice heard before I die. It is extremely important to me to be able to do that. Again, I've never meant these videos to be political in any way, shape, or form, but the events of the last week are just horrifying. And I honestly hope that the death of George Floyd does not go in vain, like the millions since the beginning of this country of deaths of Black people, that it doesn't go unnoticed, and that it doesn't have meaning, because it has to have meaning. And it has to have meaning in order for us to change. And for us to change is we can't be silent anymore. So I'm not sorry if I offended some of you with this. And if I did offend you, you don't have to follow me anymore. You don't have to watch my videos. But I am not going to stay silent as long as I'm still alive. And again, I am going to do everything in my power to make sure the current administration is voted out, whatever that is. And I also am not going to stay silent about the racial issues that absolutely boggle my mind that in 2020 are still here. So with that, I know that's a somber note, but I honestly wish you all a very good day. I hope those of you that are sick are able to get the treatments and help that you need. And always remember that Black Lives Matter. Thank you, and have a great day.